June 1944. The skies over Nazi-occupied Europe are a killing field. Every morning, young American pilots climb into their fighters knowing the odds are stacked against them. They are facing the Luftwaffe's best. Men with 50, 80, sometimes over 100 confirmed kills. Veterans who have been flying combat since the Battle of Britain in 1940. Pilots who have survived 4 years of continuous aerial warfare. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. These German aces fly the most advanced fighters in the world. The Messerschmitt Bf 109G. The Focke-Wulf 190. Fast, deadly, and in the hands of men who know every trick in the book. The average life expectancy of a new American fighter pilot in the European theater is 6 weeks. Most don't make it past their 5th mission. Into this meat grinder steps 2nd Lieutenant Robert Johnson Goebel. He is 19 years old. He looks 16. When he walks into the officers' club at Foggia, Italy, the veteran pilots stop talking. They stare at this skinny kid in a uniform that seems 2 sizes too big. His baby face makes him look like he should be in high school, not flying a $50,000 fighter plane into combat. The smart money gives him 2 weeks. Maybe 3 if he's lucky. But Robert Bob Goebel has a secret. He isn't flying on courage alone. He isn't relying on patriotism or adrenaline. He is flying on something the German veterans never expected from a teenager. He is flying on mathematics. Bob Goebel grew up in Racine, Wisconsin. A quiet, studious kid who loved taking things apart to understand how they worked. While his friends played baseball, young Bob was reading books about physics and engineering. When World War II began, Bob was too young to enlist. He watched older boys from his neighborhood ship out to Europe and the Pacific. He heard the stories. He saw the telegrams arriving at houses on his street, telling families their sons weren't coming home. When he finally turned 18, Bob volunteered for the Army Air Corps. Not because he wanted to be a hero, but because he had done the math. The bomber crews were being slaughtered over Germany. Someone had to protect them. And fighters needed pilots. Flight school came naturally to Bob. While other cadets struggled with navigation and aerodynamics, he absorbed everything like a sponge. But he noticed something that bothered him. The instructors were teaching dogfighting like it was a street brawl. Turn hard. Get on the enemy's tail. Pull the trigger. Hope you hit him before he hits you. It was aggressive. It was emotional. And Bob realized it was inefficient. One night in the barracks, while his fellow cadets were drinking and playing cards, Bob was doing something strange. He was reading the intelligence reports on German fighter tactics. He was studying the performance specifications of enemy aircraft. He wrote down numbers in a notebook. Bf 109G, maximum speed 386 miles per hour. Turn radius at 250 miles per hour, tight. P-51D Mustang, maximum speed 440 miles per hour. Turn radius at 250 miles per hour, wider. Conclusion, never turn with a 109 at low speed. He calculated energy states. If you dive from 20,000 feet to 15,000 feet, you convert potential energy into kinetic energy. Your speed increases. If you then pull up sharply, you convert that speed back into altitude. Energy management. His instructor noticed him studying one evening. Goebel, what are you doing? Learning how not to die, sir. The instructor laughed. Kid, when the bullets start flying, all that book learning goes out the window. It's instinct up there. Bob didn't argue. But he didn't believe it either. May 1944. Bob Goebel arrives at the 31st Fighter Group in Foggia, Italy. The 31st Fighter Group flies the P-51D Mustang. The finest fighter plane in the American arsenal. Long range, fast, heavily armed with 6.50 caliber machine guns. It can escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. But a good plane doesn't guarantee survival. The 31st is bleeding pilots. Every mission over Austria, Hungary, and Romania brings them face to face with the Luftwaffe's elite units. Jägerschwader 27. Jägerschwader 53. Units with names like the Ace of Spades Squadron and the Green Heart Squadron. Bob is assigned to the 308th Fighter Squadron. His squadron leader is a captain with exactly 9 combat missions under his belt. In this group, 9 missions makes you a veteran. The first time Bob walks into the ready room, the talk stops. One pilot, a lieutenant with a handlebar mustache, looks him up and down. Jesus Christ. They're sending us children now. Another pilot shakes his head. Kid, how old are you? 19, sir. 19. The pilot laughs, but it's not a happy laugh. It's the laugh of a man who has watched too many friends die. Do yourself a favor, kid. Fly tight formation. Don't try to be a hero. And when the shooting starts, run. Bob nods politely. But inside, he's thinking, running is just another energy state. You can run smart, or you can run stupid. Bob's first 5 missions are milk runs. Bomber escort to targets in northern Italy. The Luftwaffe doesn't show up. He flies wingman position, protecting his flight leader's tail. He doesn't fire a shot. But he learns. He watches how the experienced pilots fly. He notices their mistakes. On his 3rd mission, his flight leader makes a lazy turn to the left, exposing his underside to anyone below. Bob thinks, if a German was down there, we'd be dead right now. On his 4th mission, the flight punches through a cloud bank without checking what's on the other side first. Bob thinks, we just gave away our altitude advantage. If the enemy is above that cloud, they can dive on us before we even see them. He doesn't say anything. He's the new guy. But he files it all away. His crew chief, a tough old sergeant named Pop Rodier, notices something unusual about Bob's plane after each mission. Lieutenant, Pop says one evening, wiping grease from his hands. Your plane's clean. What do you mean? I mean there ain't a single bullet hole in her. You getting shot at up there? Bob smiles. They're shooting, Pop. They're just shooting at where I was. Not where I am. Pop squints at him. You a wise guy, Lieutenant? No, sir. I'm just paying attention. July 18, 1944. The mission briefing is tense. Target, Memmingen Airfield, southern Germany. It's a deep penetration mission. The bombers will be hitting a Luftwaffe base. Which means the Luftwaffe will be very, very angry. Intelligence reports estimate 40+ enemy fighters defending the target. Bob listens carefully. He memorizes the route. He checks his maps. He calculates fuel consumption and turnaround points. Some pilots pray before missions. Bob does mental math. At 0600 hours, the Mustangs take off. Bob is flying the Flying Dutchman, his assigned P-51D. It's a beautiful machine. Sleek, powerful, and responsive. They form up over the Adriatic Sea and head north. The Alps rise like a wall of white fangs. The bombers, B-17 Flying Fortresses, are lumbering along at 25,000 feet. The Mustangs weave above them at 28,000 feet. Bob's eyes never stop moving. Scan left. Scan right. Check 6 o'clock. Check the sun. Then the radio crackles, bandits. 12 o'clock high. 40+. Bob looks up. A massive formation of German fighters is diving out of the sun. Bf-109s. Their spinners are painted with white spirals. It's Jägerschwader 3. The Udet wing. Elite. The sky explodes into chaos. German fighters slice through the bomber formation. Tracers crisscross the sky like deadly spiderwebs. AB-17 takes a hit. Its number 2 engine erupts in flames. Bob's flight leader, Captain Harris, dives to engage. "Stay on me, Goebel." Bob follows. They bounce a pair of 109s attacking a bomber. Harris fires. Misses. Breaks left. Bob stays glued to his wing. Suddenly, a yellow-nosed Bf-109 cuts across their path. The German pilot is good. Very good. He executes a perfect climbing turn, converting speed into altitude, and drops right onto Captain Harris's tail. "Brake! Brake! I've got one on my 6. Harris screams. Bob has maybe 2 seconds to react. Standard doctrine is clear: turn hard into the attack. Cut off the angle. Force the enemy to overshoot. But Bob sees the geometry differently. If he turns hard, he bleeds airspeed. The 109 is already faster. The German will just pull up, loop over, and kill them both in the stall. So Bob does something that looks insane. He pushes the stick forward. The nose of his Mustang drops. The G-forces disappear. Suddenly, he's in a dive. The German pilot sees this and dismisses him. Another scared rookie running away. The German stays locked on Harris. But Bob isn't running. He's accelerating. He dives 2,000 feet. His airspeed indicator climbs past 400 miles per hour. Then 420. Then 450. Now he has energy. With smooth, gentle pressure, he pulls back on the stick. The Mustang, heavy with speed, converts the kinetic energy into a climbing turn. He zooms upward in a vertical spiral. The German pilot is focused on his gunsight. He's lining up the killing shot on Harris. He doesn't look down. Bob erupts from below like a shark breaching the surface. He comes up directly underneath the 109. It's a blind spot. The German has no idea he's there. Range, 400 yards. Too far. 300 yards. Still too far. 200 yards. Now. Bob squeezes the trigger. A 2-second burst. The 6.50 caliber machine guns roar. The bullets converge perfectly on the 109's wing root. The fuel tank explodes. The Bf-109 disintegrates in a fireball of orange and black smoke. Pieces of wing and fuselage tumble through the air. Bob doesn't celebrate. He doesn't yell on the radio. He immediately rolls inverted and dives again. Energy management. Speed is life. Altitude is life. Never, ever slow down in a combat zone. Captain Harris's voice crackles over the radio. Who got him? Who got that 109? Goebel, sir. A pause. Nice shooting, kid. Bob doesn't answer. His eyes are already scanning for the next threat. That evening, the gun camera footage is developed. Gun cameras are small film cameras mounted on the wings that record whenever the guns fire. They provide proof of kills. The entire squadron gathers in the briefing room to watch. The film flickers to life. They see Bob's Mustang diving. Then the zoom climb. Then the 109 appearing in the gunsight. Then the burst. Then the explosion. Silence. One of the veteran pilots, a grizzled captain named Tex McDonald, whistles low. He baited him. The kid baited a German ace. The squadron commander, Major Phillips, nods slowly. Goebel, where'd you learn that maneuver? Bob shrugs. Physics, sir. If I turned, I'd lose speed. The 109 can outturn a Mustang at low speed. So I traded altitude for speed, then used that speed to gain position. Tex McDonald laughs and slaps Bob on the back. Kid, you fly like an old man. That's a compliment, by the way. It is. In fighter pilot slang, flying like an old man means flying smart. Patient. Calculated. That night, Bob writes a letter home to his parents in Wisconsin. He doesn't mention the kill. He just tells them he's doing fine, the weather is nice, and the food isn't great but he's managing. He folds the letter and seals it. Outside, the Italian night is warm. Somewhere in the darkness, mechanics are patching bullet holes in planes. Somewhere, a chaplain is writing letters to the families of pilots who didn't come back. Bob lies in his bunk and stares at the ceiling. One kill. The war is far from over. Over the next 4 weeks, Bob flies 12 more combat missions. He develops a reputation. He doesn't chase Germans. He traps them. On July 25, over Ploiești, Romania, he gets his second kill. A Focke-Wulf 190 tries to attack a crippled B-24 bomber. Bob uses the sun to mask his approach. The German never sees him coming. On August 3, he gets his third and fourth kills in a single mission. 2 Bf-109s try to bounce his flight. Bob reverses on them, using a vertical scissors maneuver. Both Germans stall trying to follow him. Bob shoots them both down in less than 90 seconds. On August 12, he gets his fifth kill. He is officially an ace. 5 confirmed victories. He is 19 years old. But Bob doesn't feel like an ace. He feels like a student who keeps passing tests. The other pilots start asking him questions. Goebel, how do you always know where they're going to be? Bob tries to explain. I watch their energy state. If a 109 is diving fast, he can't turn hard without ripping his wings off. So I know he has to pull out gently. I just wait where he's going to be. Some get it. Others don't. One pilot, a hotshot lieutenant named Jimmy Martz, doesn't like Bob's cautious style. You're too conservative, Goebel. Sometimes you gotta just go for it. Bob doesn't argue. But 2 missions later, Jimmy Martz goes for it. He chases a German fighter into a cloud bank without checking his 6. A second German was waiting. Jimmy doesn't come back. Bob attends the memorial service. He stands in the back, quiet. War is teaching him something beyond physics. It's teaching him that aggression without intelligence is suicide. The mission is a bomber escort to Ploiești again. The oil refineries there are critical to the German war machine. The Allies bomb them repeatedly. Bob is separated from his flight during a chaotic engagement. He's at 24,000 feet, alone. He scans the sky. Empty. Then he sees a dot at 3 o'clock high. Most pilots would turn toward it to investigate. Bob doesn't. He checks the sun. The dot is positioning itself directly up sun. Hiding in the glare. He's hunting me, Bob realizes. It's a trap. The German is waiting for Bob to turn, which will bleed speed. Then the German will dive, using the sun to blind Bob until the last second. Bob has a choice. Run or fight. He chooses option 3, reverse the trap. He levels his wings. He pretends he hasn't seen the hunter. He is now the bait. The German takes it. A Bf-109K-4 dives out of the sun. The K-4 is the fastest, most lethal version of the 109. And the pilot is clearly experienced. At 400 yards, the German opens fire. Crack thump. A 20 mm cannon shell explodes near Bob's tail. Shrapnel peppers his rudder. Bob doesn't panic. He pulls the nose up 30 degrees and chops the throttle to idle. It looks suicidal. By climbing and cutting power, he's killing his airspeed. In a dogfight, speed is life. But Bob is initiating a maneuver called the rolling scissors. The German pilot, screaming in at 450 miles per hour, suddenly finds himself closing on a target that has practically stopped in midair. He's going too fast. He can't slow down in time. If he tries to pull hard, the G-forces will rip his wings off. The German shoots past Bob's canopy. Bob sees the pilot's helmet. He sees the iron cross on the fuselage. Now the tables are turned. The rolling scissors is a contest of who can fly the slowest without crashing. It's a series of barrel rolls and turns, with each pilot trying to force the other out in front. Bob slams his throttle forward. The Merlin engine roars back to life. He rolls left, dropping his nose to gain speed, cutting inside the German's turn. The German pulls up, trying to loop over Bob. Bob anticipated it. He pulls up too, but deploys 10 degrees of flaps. Flaps add drag and lift. They tighten his turn radius. The two planes spiral around each other like DNA strands, climbing higher and higher. They're trading energy for position. Bob is gentle on the controls. He feels the Mustang shuddering on the edge of a stall. One wrong move and he'll spin. Patience, he tells himself. Wait for him to make the mistake. The German gets greedy. At the top of a loop, he tries to pull his nose around for a snapshot. He pulls too hard. The airflow over his wings breaks. The 109 stalls violently and snaps to the right, tumbling out of control. Bob doesn't follow immediately. He levels out, regains energy, then dives. The German recovers at 15,000 feet. But he's lost all his speed. He's a sitting duck. Bob slides in behind him. Range, 200 yards. He doesn't need a deflection shot. Just line up and fire. The .50 calibers saw the tail off the Messerschmitt. The German pilot bails out. Bob circles the parachute once. He doesn't shoot. That's a war crime. He just tips his wings. Class dismissed. What Bob doesn't know is that his reputation is spreading on the other side. American intelligence officers, debriefing captured Luftwaffe pilots, start hearing a pattern. The Americans have a new tactic, one German pilot says. There is one flight leader who never turns. He climbs. He waits. He traps you. It is like fighting a calculator. Another captured pilot is more direct, I do not know his name. But he flies a Mustang with a Dutch marking. He killed Hauptmann Rolf Schroeder. Schroeder had 87 victories. This American, he does not fight like the others. He thinks. The Luftwaffe command takes note. They issue warnings to their squadrons, beware the Mustang pilots who refuse to dogfight. But by late August 1944, the Luftwaffe has bigger problems. They're running out of fuel. They're running out of experienced pilots. And the Americans are introducing a new threat. Long-range P-51s that can escort bombers all the way to Berlin. The war is turning. But it's far from over. Bob is leading a flight of 4 Mustangs over Vienna. The flak is heavy. Black puffs of exploding anti-aircraft shells dot the sky. Then he sees something that makes his blood run cold. A white contrail, rising vertically from the ground. It's not an artillery rocket. It's climbing too fast. Too controlled. Bob keys his mic, all flights, eyes up. We've got something climbing fast at 9 o'clock. The object levels off at 30,000 feet and accelerates toward the bomber formation. Bob's first thought, that's not possible. The thing is moving at least 600 miles per hour. His Mustang tops out at 440. It's the Messerschmitt Me-163 Comet. A rocket-powered interceptor. Bat-winged. Tailless. It looks like something from a science fiction magazine. Bandit at 6 o'clock. Moving fast. Bob shouts. He pushes his throttle to the firewall. War emergency power. It's useless. The Comet blows past him like he's standing still. The German pilot fires two 30mm cannon shells at a B-24 bomber. Boom! The bomber's wing separates. The fortress spirals down, trailing fire. The Comet zooms upward, turns off its rocket motor, and disappears. Bob sits in his cockpit, stunned. He has spent months mastering the physics of propeller-driven combat. Energy management. Turn rates. Stall speeds. All of it is suddenly obsolete. How do you fight something that's 200 miles per hour faster than you? That night, Bob can't sleep. He lies in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. The game has changed. Bob spends the next week in the intelligence tent, reading everything he can find about the German jet and rocket fighters. The Me-163 Comet has a rocket engine that burns for only 7.5 minutes. After that, it's a glider. It has to land immediately. The Me-262 jet has two Jumo 004 engines. Powerful, but primitive. If the pilot slams the throttle forward too fast, the engines flame out or explode. Bob finds the weakness: they're invincible in the air, but vulnerable on the ground. He goes to his squadron commander with a proposal. "Sir, we can't catch them at altitude. But we can catch them when they land." The commander frowns. "You want to loiter over enemy airfields? That's the most heavily defended airspace in Europe." "Yes, sir. But they have to come home eventually. And when they do, they're slow, heavy, and out of gas." The commander considers. "It's dangerous." "Flying is dangerous, sir." The commander approves the mission. Bob leads a flight of 4 Mustangs deep into Austria. Their target, a Luftwaffe airfield near Linz known to base Me-262 jets. They don't escort bombers. They just hunt. Bob flies at 15,000 feet, loitering in the sun. He watches contrails high above. German jets attacking bomber formations. He doesn't intervene. He waits. 15 minutes pass. Then, there. 2 Me-262s, diving from altitude. Out of ammo. Low on fuel. Heading home. The jets enter the landing pattern. Gear down. Flaps extended. Speed drops to 150 miles per hour. "Drop tanks," Bob orders. The 4 Mustangs jettison their external fuel tanks and dive. Bob is using gravity to accelerate. He's turning his Mustang into a missile. He closes on the trailing jet. The German pilot is focused on his instruments. He never sees the P-51 diving out of the sun. Bob waits until 300 yards. He fires. The jet's right engine explodes. The turbine shatters, sending blades slicing through the fuselage. The Me-262 flips and crashes into the trees. The lead jet pilot sees the explosion. He panics. He slams his throttles forward to go around. Fatal mistake. The Jumo engines choke on the sudden fuel rush. Flames shoot from the exhausts. Bob's wingman, Lieutenant Bob "Shorty" Verbansik, finishes it. 2 wonder weapons destroyed in 30 seconds. Not by superior technology. By tactics. November 1944. Bob is promoted to captain. He's 20 years old. He's now leading a flight of men, some of whom are older than him. He's responsible for their lives. The stress starts to show. He becomes even more conservative. More disciplined. "If you talk, you die," he tells new pilots. "Keep your eyes outside the cockpit. Check 6 every 30 seconds. One new pilot, Lieutenant Jack Sublette, thinks Bob is too rigid. On a mission over Hungary, Sublette breaks formation to chase a damaged Bf-109. "Sublette, get back in formation." Bob barks. "It's a trap. I got him, Cap." He's smoking. Bob watches from above. He sees the second German fighter slide out of the clouds behind Sublette. Bob rolls his Mustang and dives. He pushes the engine to 70 inches of manifold pressure. The Merlin screams. He's racing death. Sublette is fixated on his target. The German wingman lines up his shot. Bob fires from 600 yards. Extreme range. The tracers arc over Sublette's canopy. The German brakes right, startled. Sublette pulls up, shaken. "You're welcome," Bob says coldly. "Now get back on my wing." That night, Sublette tries to thank him. Bob cuts him off. "I don't want your thanks, Jack. I want you to listen. The German you see is the bait. The German you don't see is the killer." It's harsh. But Bob knows that kindness gets people killed. The war is ending. Germany is collapsing. But the Luftwaffe pilots who remain are fanatics. Bob's final major engagement happens over Austria. He spots a Focke-Wulf 190D-9 Dora. The ultimate piston-engine fighter Germany ever built. The German pilot initiates the fight. He dives on Bob from above. Bob turns into the attack. Classic defensive break. They merge at a combined speed of 800 miles per hour, passing within feet of each other. Then the dance begins. It's not a turning fight. It's vertical. The Dora climbs like a rocket. The German pilot pulls straight up, trying to stall Bob out. Bob knows his Mustang can't match that climb rate. If he follows, he'll stall first. So he doesn't follow. He spirals downward, building speed. The German, thinking he's won, levels off at the top and rolls over to dive for the kill. But Bob has used his dive to build massive energy. As the German rolls, Bob pulls back hard. He rockets upward. They meet in the middle. It's an impossible deflection shot. Bob is climbing at 60 degrees. The German is diving at 40 degrees. Bob has to lead the target by 4 plane lengths. He's shooting at empty air, trusting physics to bring the German into his bullets. He squeezes the trigger. The stream of .50 caliber rounds walks right into the Focke-Wulf's path. The engine cowling shatters. The canopy blows off. The FW-190 rolls onto its back and falls into a flat spin. Bob watches it go down. "Splash number 11, he whispers. He's 21 years old. April 1945. Germany surrenders. Bob receives orders to return to the United States. He's flown 61 combat missions. 11 confirmed kills. Distinguished Flying Cross. Silver Star. Most pilots celebrate. They throw parties. Bob feels hollow. He spent the most formative years of his life in a cockpit. He learned to kill before he learned to vote. On his final flight, ferrying his P-51 to a depot, Bob takes the scenic route. He flies over the Alps one last time. He looks down at the mountains where he fought the 109s. The valleys where friends died. He realizes he's leaving the only place where the rules made sense. Up here, it was just physics. Down there, in the civilian world, things are messy. He lands. He pats the Mustang's fuselage. "Good girl," he whispers. Then he walks away. Robert Johnson Goebel returned to Racine, Wisconsin in summer 1945. The transition was jarring. 1 week he was commanding fighters. The next, he was eating meatloaf in his parents' kitchen. He enrolled at the University of Wisconsin to study physics. But he was different from the other students. When professors talked about velocity and vectors, Bob didn't see equations. He saw Focke-Wulf stalling. He saw tracers arcing through sky. He rarely spoke about the war. Years later, a fellow pilot asked why he never bragged. "What's there to brag about?" Bob said. "We did a job. The Germans were good pilots. We just had better fuel, better planes, and maybe we were luckier. Classic humility. But Bob knew the truth. The difference between being an ace and being a casualty was often inches. A single decision to push the stick forward instead of pulling back. Bob eventually wrote a book, Mustang Ace, Memoirs of a P-51 Fighter Pilot. It became required reading at the U.S. Air Force Fighter Weapons School. His tactics, energy management, vertical fighting, situational awareness, are still taught today. When modern F-22 Raptor pilots talk about energy maneuverability theory, they're using the language Bob Goebel spoke intuitively in 1944. Bob Goebel passed away in 2011. He was 88 years old. But his legacy lives on. He proved you don't have to be the oldest, strongest, or most aggressive to win. You just have to be the smartest. A 19-year-old kid from Wisconsin outsmarted the Luftwaffe's veterans by refusing to play their game. Robert Goebel wasn't born a hero. He made himself one through study, discipline, and a refusal to panic. In a war of machines, he proved the most dangerous weapon is the human mind. If you enjoyed the story of the baby-faced ace who outsmarted the Luftwaffe, hit that like button. And we have a question for you. What's the most brilliant tactical move you've ever heard of in military history? Was it Goebel's rolling scissors? Hannibal at Cannae? The Trojan horse? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe for more forgotten heroes. Turn on notifications so you never miss these stories. And tell us, where are you watching from? Did anyone in your family serve in World War II? Let's keep these memories alive.